Really thrilled to see you all here, as well as our guests. We have a number of fabulous guests with us today, and we'll announce the guests in a moment. So today is July 19th, and it's a beautiful day in Bloomington. And as you probably all know, it's a really challenging day in many different parts of the world right now, especially in Europe. And I'm really struck by the contrast between the beauty and sheer pleasure of being in Bloomington and the impact that the climate change is happening on the rest of the world. And I'm just really gratified that the Rotary Club has taken this very seriously over the last few years, and has now considered climate change as its seventh area of focus. So I'm looking forward to conversations in the Bloomington Rotary Club over the next few months about how we can get involved in the conversation about climate change and perhaps involve ourselves in projects that build awareness and hopefully help save the planet. So with that good news, let me bring, is Owen Johnson here? Is he online? Okay, he's online. Okay, good. Owen, you're going to be giving our reflection today. So why don't we pin you to the screen and then, figuratively speaking, and bring you in.
Thank you, Ella. A new history of Rotary International from its founding until the end of World War II has just been published by Harvard University Press. Historian Brendan Goff, in a book called Rotary International and the Selling of American Capitalism, explores the meteoric rise of a local service club that brought missionary zeal to the spread of American-style economics and civic ideals. Goff traces Rotary's ideological roots to the business progressivism and cultural internationalism of the US in the early 20th century. The key idea, Goff argues, was that community service was intrinsic to a capitalist way of life. The tone of service above self was almost religious, but as Rotary began to look abroad, it embraced President Wilson's secular message of collective security and international cooperation. Civic internationalism, Goff argues, was the businessman's version of the Christian imperial civilizing mission, but performed outside the state. The target was both domestic and global. The Rotarian magazine encouraged members to see the world as friendly to Main Street values. Goff pays particular attention to the Rotary Club in Granite City, Illinois, and its service projects in Havana and Tokyo. The international focus was remarkably successful. By 1929, 1/4 of Rotary clubs were in 45 independent countries, and there were many more in US, British, and other European possessions and territories. Goff writes that Rotary International thought of itself as a kind of institutional Esperanto for an emerging transnational class of businessmen and professionals brought together by a common dedication to an alternative to political partisanship and quixotic nationalist agendas. Rotary's civic internationalism thus claimed to rise above the political fray because it defined its members as responsible professional marketplace actors, and its organizational mission beyond the purview of the state. Actors and its organizational mission included. Those blurring boundaries evolved over time into a complex and revealing dance among nations and empires, races and cultures, cities and regions, professions and industries. In 1919, Rotary International's incoming president proclaimed that the sun never sets on Rotarians. It's useful to remember that, as nationalism and American first ideas have in recent years gained listeners in the public square. Ella?
Thank you so much. Thank you, Owen. That was great. And if you can't hear it, there's a round of applause for you here in the room. I am continually inspired by Rotary International and everything that it does, and I really appreciate you setting the frame for us to think about it today. Thank you so much. Okay, we have a number of guests. Bill Perkins is going to come and greet and welcome and introduce our guests. And for those of you on Zoom, let me just explain, we're only using one microphone today because we don't have access to the room sound. So we'll be focusing on the microphone at the podium for the rest of the meeting.
It's my pleasure to introduce.
Oh, there we go. Good.
It's my pleasure to welcome a number of guests that we have with us here in the Georgian room. If you would, please stand when you're introduced so we can properly recognize you. First, Ann Bright, guest Jim Bright. She's hardly much of a guest anymore, but thank you. Molly Otto, who's a guest of Sandy Keller. Elaine O'Leary, a guest of Nikki Maurer, with Nikki Maurer. Lisa Posey, guest of Nikki. Professor Anil Kovali, a guest of Jim and Ann Bright. Tony Mesher, a guest of Judy Schrader. James Wolfe, a guest of Elaine Barker. And Mary Gotsey, a guest of Martha Wales. If you have any questions about Rotary, don't hesitate. Excuse me.
May I suggest that we have another guest?
Oh.
Delightful lady, and I don't remember her name.
I'm going to make a wild try at this. Manasvi Menon.
Hey.
A first-year professor at the Maurer School of Law. Coincidentally, arriving today when Nikki Maurer is talking to your club.
You may run back to Chicago.
We're sorry we missed you, but we're happy to have you here. And if you have any questions about Rotary, please feel free to ask others at your table. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. A few quick member updates. I just wanted to mention that John Pandazzi unfortunately fell and broke his leg. So please have him in your thoughts. And then John Pandazzi, and then Sandy Keller has COVID. So we're thinking of her as well. So, but I wanted to especially welcome Molly, because Molly actually is going to be a member of our club, because Sandy Keller and Molly are organizing so that they can both be here as members. So welcome Molly. It's great to have you with us. Yeah. Oh yes, let's go with guests on Zoom. Joy?
Yes, we have two guests on Zoom this afternoon. Joining us are Catherine and Barry Brown, guests of Judy Schroeder. So we welcome them to our meeting and welcome to Rotary.
Thank you so much. Okay, so we're going to move to club updates. There are a few things that I want to just mention. For those of you on Facebook, you've probably seen an uptick in posts and activities and videos and what have you that we've been sending out to the world. And I just wanted to be sure that everybody understands the distinction that we're making between our Facebook page and our Facebook group. There are actually two spaces that we run on Facebook. And if you go to the Facebook location that you're most familiar with, just have a look to see if it's the page or the group. And for the group, we're hoping to stimulate conversation between ourselves about activities in the club, news updates, sharing information that we want to be able to share with ourselves. And on the Facebook page, we want to be telling our story to the Bloomington community and the world as best we can about how amazing this club is. So just be aware that there's a distinction between those two. We're going to move to membership, and Dave Maurer is going to join us at the podium here.
Thank you, President Elaine. I would like to share with you a moment for membership. Okay, so we are in a new Rotary year. Our Rotary year begins July 1st. Obviously, we have a new president. And we are energized to expand our membership this year. And we are also equally energized to make our club more, to look more like the rest of the community of Bloomington and Monroe County. We have our very first Rotary president who is female, I should say non-male in that case. And we also have, that is Rotary International president, is a female for the first time. We have a diversity fund that was established by Dr. Raj Hadawi to help us with the diversity of the club. And so we're getting ready to strive forward, but we need your help. Membership recruitment is a responsibility of everyone in this room and on Zoom. So we hope that you will be able to help us with that so that we can become a more inclusive and larger club than we are currently. So we're sending a survey to all members in the next couple of days, and we're going to be requesting names of specific people that you think would make good members. So if you would please respond to that, because only through our efforts together can we grow the club and make the club more like the community of Bloomington and Monroe County. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you so much. And I just want to thank Dave in particular over the last 3 years through the pandemic. Dave has been steadfastly supporting and working on membership for this club. And as you know, we had 12 new members last year. The club itself is an incredibly good place in terms of membership. And it's a lot is due to the fact that Dave has been there for us all. So I just want to thank you once again for doing as much as you do in the membership area. That said, I would like to also support him in the notion that every one of us is responsible for the expansion of this club, for telling this community about how amazing this club is, and for looking for people who can help us move into our new century and reimagine what our club really could become in the future. Equity, diversity, and inclusion is such an important part of our club and of the world in which we now belong. And as we navigate into that world, I think that every one of you probably has a really good idea of how we can do that as a club. So please take this survey very seriously this coming week. We want you to be able to send us some great ideas and look forward in the next few months to inviting any number of different people to the club as we seek to expand and make the club more vibrant and responsive to our community. So thank you, Dave. Thank you so much. A few other things. Great news about Fountain of Youth, the initiative that was announced last week. We now have a 5th major sponsor for that program. So we already now have up to $50,000 established for a fund that we're hoping to develop this next year. So for those of you who feel inspired by that, hopefully that will draw you into being generous in support of that program. So that's really good news. You may have heard earlier on that we're going to be, the district is reestablishing RILA at Bradford Woods again this year. We're very happy to be supporting that. And if you have any ideas of high school students in particular who could benefit from that program, please also let us know. We want to hear that from you. A reminder that the Teachers Warehouse Supply Drive is happening July 30th, and apparently there are 4 slots available, 4 slots available. So for those of you who have not yet signed up, there's an opportunity for you to participate. There may be an opportunity for more of us to get involved, and Anne will tell us about that as it becomes a little closer, as it becomes clearer. The Rotary Book Club met this week, and there'll be an announcement next week about the new book that they're going to be looking at. And then finally, I just want to thank all of the committees who have really sprung into action. The program committee met last week. The membership committee is going to be meeting, has met, is in the process of activating itself. There's a foundation board meeting. And if you have any questions about committees or your involvement in committees, please make sure that I can hear from you about that as well. As I said, the committee is already the sort of the central driver of how this organization functions. And the more that we can do with our committees at the beginning of the year, planning out the year, the more effective we are as an organization. So this is a really critical time for all of our committees to be as active as possible. Okay, I'm going to just acknowledge a few people. We've got some good and mixed news about Chung Him Chu, who is our audio specialist sitting here, producer. Unfortunately for us, but very, very happily for him, he now has a full-time job at OSU, and he's going to be moving out there in about 6 or 7 days' time. So, John, I wanted to thank you for being with us. Yeah. Oklahoma State University, OSU. That was the one that I was thinking of. Yeah. We have our Zoom host, Joy Harder. Thank you so much for handling the Zoom today, as you always do so fantastically. Thanks to Marcus Deborah for greeting everybody as they came in today. Bill Perkins for introducing our guest. And the roundabout reporter for this month is Glenda Murray. So Glenda, you're doing a fabulous job. Thank you so much. Yeah. Okay, well, let's move to our wonderful guest. I think that Jim Bright is going to come up to the podium and introduce our guest for the day.
Thank you so much, President Owen. And it is my pleasure to introduce an Indiana legend and an outstanding supporter of this university, Indiana University, Michael Maurer. Mickey is chairman of the board of the Indianapolis Business Journal Corporation, publishers of the IBJ, Court and Commercial Record, and the Indiana Lawyer. A graduate of the IU School of Law, Bloomington, Mickey is an entrepreneur whose work has included cable TV, film production, radio broadcasting, publishing, real estate, and banking. One busy man. Mickey is former president of the Indiana Economic Development Corporation and former Indiana Secretary of Commerce under former Governor Mitch Daniels. In 2008, Indiana University named the IU Bloomington Law School the IU Maurer School of Law. Mickey also is the author of 6 books, and today he'll tell us about his new novel, a medical thriller called The Methuselah Gene. And there are copies at the table on your way in. So fellow Rotarians, please join me in extending a warm Rotary welcome to an Indiana and an IU legend, Mickey Maurer.
Did you expect a taller man?
Can bring it down for you there.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Jim. That was a great introduction, which I appreciate very much. Would you mind if I just corrected a couple of little things? That thing about the legend, if you knew about all the mistakes I have made, you wouldn't call me a legend. And you mentioned movies. I made a full-length motion picture called Diving In, a coming-of-age movie, and it got a review, a coming-of-age movie of kids in high school. It got a review in the Orlando paper that said, "Diving in goes straight to the bottom." And then this thing about the law school, my friends say, "Mickey, you barely got into this law school." And maybe Lisa, who has access to those records, probably could tell you that that's the truth. But it's been a pleasure to be associated with this law school. And I've met the kids every year. We make sure we meet the scholarship recipients. And I can report back to you that they're all smarter than I am. And so this thing about legend, I'm not so sure. Anyway, I'm told that our microphone system doesn't work. So if someone asks me a question, I need to repeat the question. So remind me to do that. And I wonder if I could get a copy of one of my books. I'm shamelessly offering my book for sale today. And the reason is they're heavy. So I carried them all in, and you can see I'm old, and I don't want to carry them back. So I'm offering them for $20 a piece, and with that, I am offering
a free book of your choice. Vanna White is holding up the other one over here. The crossword puzzle book of puzzles I've made for the New York Times. And there's 50 of them, but I think I only made about 25 for New York Times, but there's other creations, probably rejections from the New York Times. I don't remember. And this football book, which I really, really enjoyed writing. It's about the 50th anniversary of our Rose Bowl team. And the funny thing about it, you're wondering, well, why doesn't he sell this book? Well, I made a whole bunch of them, too many. And they sold like crazy during the year of our 50th anniversary. Everybody wanted one. And then after the end of that year, nobody wanted one. But it's still the same book, a good book. So I'm offering that if you buy this. And they're 20 bucks. So does nobody's rushing up here to buy the book. So I'm told that normal format is, and by the way, I have to stand here. I don't like it behind this bulletproof podium. I like to get out in front and kind of ad lib and enjoy a dialogue, but I have to address this mic, so I have to stay here. We got a great crowd. I've met a number of you, and I see wonderful friends already. I see an old friend and some new friends, so it's just great. Phil over here in the back says he hasn't missed a Rotary meeting in 41 years or something. Holy moly. That's a huge feat. And I've known Phil way back when we were both a lot younger. And all my new friends, Celine's here, and she's my go-to person whenever I get over my head on something. And everybody, a lot of friends. And so I'm really pleased. And the reason I want to change up a little bit, because we do have so many people that I like and know. And instead of me yapping at you for 20 or 30 minutes and then saying, okay, we have 5 minutes for questions, I'm hoping that we can just have a dialogue and that we'll have questions throughout this little talk. And then we can enjoy one another's company much better. And so I made a new friend today, Jeff over here. And if he doesn't ask me a question, then our friendship was probably going to be at an end. So,
all right, you want me to lead off?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. As you know, I had the pleasure of studying at the school now named after you and also teaching there. And I've seen in my career, which is not as long as yours, Mickey, tremendous changes in, oh, sorry. Yes.
Well, it works.
Sorry, it doesn't work.
It doesn't work for Zoom. So you'll
Oh, it doesn't work for Zoom. Okay.
Do you want me to pose the question next to Mickey? So.
No, you pose the question. If it's a good question, I'll repeat it.
Would you like me to make it a bad question?
Well, I'll let the audience decide whether it was an intelligent question.
Okay.
All right,
so
go ahead.
You mentioned during our lunch that you are very engaged with the law school and you make a point to meet the students every year. So, you know, if you're coaching young people who are considering the practice of law, what would you tell them would be the major challenges and the most rewarding aspects of it?
I'll start with most rewarding. The question is, what would I tell students who ask me for advice about the law school and the major challenges and the major advantages of a law degree? And I'd start with the advantages. By the way, just like my children, I never offer advice unless they ask me for it. I tried that, and I said to one of my sons exactly how I felt about something and tried to help him. And he looked at me, and he was very kind, and he loves me, but he said, "Dad, we just don't do it that way anymore." So I don't offer advice unless people ask for it, kids I'm talking about. But I would tell you that studying law is extraordinarily valuable, allow you to gain an extraordinarily valuable asset that is particularly helpful in a business career, and which is what I pursued. And so studying law down here, the way we do it, I can appreciate problems in a different way. I can think a little bit differently. I can understand what my advisors are saying. I can move a lot quicker in business decision making, and it's made me a much better businessman. The challenges, well, to do it right, you've got to spend a lot of time working hard at learning law. And I'm sitting next to our brand new professor. And by the way, try to treat me with some respect. He's just joined our faculty, and if he doesn't like what he sees here, he's heading back to Chicago before he teaches his first class. And so maybe you'll agree with me that if you're going to do it, you need to accept the challenge and do it right, study hard, and listen to what these outstanding people tell you. And so that'd be my answer to the question. And I characterize that as an intelligent question, so that's fine.
Great.
Any other questions?
People don't realize you were my lawyer 50 years ago, but my question is the impact of the IBJ, which seems to be the voice for business and legal issues in at least central Indiana.
Phil, thank you. Yes, I was your lawyer. I was a lousy lawyer. I didn't know that until I started hiring lawyers in my business career, and they were all a lot better. But I had a good bedside manner, and I never got sued or no grievances filed. So I think I made it unscathed. I practiced 20 years. And luckily, the things that you and I talked about had numbers involved. And I was, if I was ever any good, it was when the law intersected with the numbers. And so I enjoyed our relationship, and it's great to see you. Now, IBJ. Well, for those of you who are a little bit oriented towards central Indiana, I like to think that the IBJ is doing well because the daily newspaper has ceded the business coverage to us. And so when you read our daily, you don't get much business coverage, and we are the Indianapolis Business Journal. So that gave us a free path to what we get to do. We have a record number of subscribers, more so than ever in our history. So I think we're doing something right. And one of those things I think is right is that I stopped running the IBJ on a day-to-day basis and got somebody who's a hell of a lot smarter than I am to do it. So we're doing well. And so thank you for that question. Okay.
There is a question online, so let me show that to you here.
All right.
So if you have a look on the right of the screen there from Owen Johnson.
Okay.
This is given your association.
Oh, giving my, do I need to repeat this?
You wouldn't mind that.
Yeah. Given my association with the IBJ, what do I think of the future of printed newspapers? Well, that's a great question. And I wouldn't have given much thought to the future of printed newspapers until recently, but I still use the printed form, but I'm old. My kids don't. And we have solved that problem by combining. When you buy an IBJ subscription, you get the online versions and you get the printed form. And when we graph what our readers want, the graphs are starting to cross, and now more people want digital than print. But we still offer print, and there's a couple things you can get on our print version you cannot get electronic. And then we got something coming out in a week or two. Let that be a surprise, but only our print subscribers get that, and it's a huge publication. So I would say there's a big future in printed. We're hanging on to our print customers, but there is an opportunity there to combine, and that's what we've done. So thank you for that question, Owen. I appreciate that. If I don't start talking about my book, it occurred to me that nobody would buy one. So I think we better do that. So I start by asking you, as a kid, did you ever think about why you can't live forever? I mean, it did occur to me, and why we have to get off the planet. And then I read some literature that dealt with that, maybe fiction. And I love this book called Lost Horizon. It was about Shangri-La. We probably don't remember Lost Horizon, but we all remember Shangri-La. And the author wrote a very popular book called Goodbye, Mr. Chips. And the actor in that movie won an Academy Award in 1939 and beat out Clark Gable. So, but that was an interesting book to me because people that lived in Shangri-La lived long lives, and I wonder why we can't live that long life. And my book has something to do with that Methuselah gene. And you biblical scholars know Methuselah lived 900 years. And you know what they said in Porgy and Bess? Ever see the opera Porgy and Bess? Sport in Life says, Methuselah lived 900 years, but who calls that living when no gal will give in to no man who's 900 years? So the book, in fact, I'm gonna read from the back of the book. I didn't write this. In the Methuselah gene, Michael Maurer's mesmerizing, I wouldn't have said that, medical thriller, Alex Morton, a talented but unorthodox scientist, undertakes the care of little Jimmy Higgins, who suffers from one of the rarest diseases in the world, progeria. Anybody heard of that? Progeria is a genetic mutation that grossly accelerates the aging process. Alex's study of progeria yields staggering discoveries about the mother of all diseases, aging. What Alex does not know is that Mother Nature jealously guards her secrets, and that his newly developed therapies will lead to calamitous, unintended consequences. $20, they're all right. So the book, since I lived here 3 years, is set in part in Bloomington. And so you're going to get a kick out of, now I've disguised some of the names, but it won't be that difficult to figure out. How many have ever been to Nick's? Okay, wait a minute, your hand's not up. You can't stay here unless you at least go to Nick's before you start classes. Okay, you got to get to Nick's. Okay, so you'll find Nick's in here and some other references to Bloomington. And I think that makes it more fun to read if you recognize that. Now, this is a beach book, Professor. So this is not a highfalutin book. Jeff, you can't teach out of this book. This is a book you take to the beach. Well, what's in a beach book, a good beach book? There's romance. Who said romance? Okay, you're a lady, so you would say romance. Now, a guy would say there's sex.
That's what romance means.
Yeah, it means a little bit different to different people at different ages. And so there's adventure and there's violence and mystery. And so I want to read a little bit of what my wife said about this book. Sex, mayhem, and medical mysteries. Where did my husband come up with all of that? So here it is. Now, I'll tell you just a little bit. I'll pause. Any questions here? Yes. Yes, ma'am.
I was waiting for the mic, but I'll.
No, wait for the mic. That's all right. Be a little quicker with that mic, sir.
Okay. I looked this up online.
Yeah.
And there's another book by the very same title.
Yeah, much inferior.
Yeah, but I wonder, is there anything?
No.
Okay.
No.
Copyright kinds of laws?
No, you can name 10 books, Methuselah gene. It's okay. No copyright violation.
But yours is much better.
Oh, I really don't know. I like mine. you know, when you write, I did 56 drafts of this book. I spent a whole year writing it. I interviewed countless people, many of whom we would all know. I toured all kinds of labs and read piles and piles of material. This high. I mean, I did my best to research. I think I got it right. But I remember distinctly when I turned to my assistant and said, I can't stand this book. I never want to see it again. That's when you know the book is done. And so it's done, and I hope you like it.
I have another publication question,
Yes.
and that is because of your crossword puzzle book. What do you think of crossword, the future of crossword puzzles? Because I can't imagine them online.
Oh, they do have crosswords online now, and crosswords, I think, are never going to go away. It's just a great exercise. It's like your biceps. It's exercise for your brain. It's a wonderful pastime, and I enjoy it. I work a puzzle every day, the New York Times, every day. That is every day, but Monday I give that to my daughter. She works Monday. They get harder with every day. And so I enjoy it, and I enjoy making them. Would you believe that our editors got a degree from this university, Will Shorts, and he's from Crawfordsville, and has been a good friend because I've been doing this for 20 years. He gets 200 submissions a week, and he can only use 7. And my last 3 attempts at publication were rejected by Will Shorts, and he hates to do that because we're buddies. And I told him on this last one, which was a great puzzle, but he didn't like it, I guess, enough. I said, "Say it ain't so, Will." Plagiarizing another quote from somebody else. But I would answer your question by saying crossword puzzles are here to stay. You know, when I started working crossword puzzles, Mr. Professor, I was in a class my 3rd year. It was boring. Stick with first year, okay? People are very excited about it. And I looked over, and a friend of mine was working the crossword puzzle from the Louisville Courier and Journal, local paper. And he was enjoying himself. I was not. So I went out and got a puzzle for the next session, and was also working a puzzle. And I tell that story, and that got me started, and I started working puzzles, and then I decided, well, shoot, I can do better than that. And I tried submitting a puzzle, and my first puzzle was rejected. And the editor at the time, Eugene Maleska, said, "Your puzzle contains a plethora of esoterica." And I had to look up both words. So, but then I kind of got the hang of it. And so I gave a lecture to students in class, and I looked up and I saw somebody working a crossword puzzle at my class. So it'll be here to stay. Thank you for the question. Yes, ma'am. Oh, we got one over here.
Yeah, Mr. Maurer, what was would you say was a compelling reason or reasons you had for making such a generous gift to the law school? And as a kid, did you grow up working in your folks' grocery store?
My folks, that was my uncle. It was called Atlas Supermarket. And that was my uncle. My dad owned a junkyard, and I worked at the junkyard, which is the very essence of capitalism. And I learned a lot about business at the junkyard. You raise a very interesting question, and I'm glad to answer it. Particularly Lisa's here, and she's in charge of, you call that advancement for the law school. Okay, she'll tell me whether I got this right. So I came back after my first year, of studies at the law school, and somebody said to report to the dean. So throughout my college career, I had many opportunities to have to report to the dean. And I thought, uh-oh, I'm in trouble again. And I went to the dean's office and he said, Mickey, you got a scholarship, an academic scholarship, because your performance as a first year merited that. And it's a scholarship that was contributed by a law firm. It was in Fort Wayne. And I can't remember exactly how much. I think it was $1,500. I'd never seen that much money in my entire life. And so I decided, I had just read a story about a guy who got some money and he gave it to his commodities broker and with specific instructions. And then when he resurfaced, he had made $1 million. And I thought, oh, well, I'm pretty smart. They told me I was smart. They gave me the money. So I decided I'll invest it all in the commodities market. And I think I picked corn futures. And I gave my broker specific instructions. And a week later, I lost it all. So 2 things from that. 1, I never invested in the commodities market again. And 2, I realized that there were people out there in our community who cared about me and students like I was and wanted to give back and create a situation that we could be rewarded for our academic achievements. And I vowed that I would, if I could, financially able, I would be one of those kind of people. And the first thing I would do, or one of the first things I would do, would give money back to the law school. They gave me that $1,500. And so it's kind of gauche to say how much I contributed. I won't say that, but we do create lots of scholarships for kids. And so I think law school got a good return on its $1,500. That was a good question. I appreciate that. I don't know how much time. Somebody's going to tell me I'm running out of time. I got 5 minutes and I haven't even pushed the book. So I'm going to tell you a little story. If you promise, I'll be promised to buy a book, then we'll keep talking. Or if you don't buy a book, I'll keep talking. So I don't know which way that's going to go. But one thing, I want to talk about the sex in the book because I mentioned it. And I was worried a little bit. So I said to my wife, I said, Janie, do you think there's too much sex in the book? And she says, well, you know, ladies today are reading this book called 50 Shades of Grey. And she said, well, I never read that, she said. But I'm talking to my friends, and since I've read your book, I can tell you, your book only has 2 shades of gray. Now I'll take your question.
Well, this is a crossword puzzle question. I do the Times puzzle every day, including Sunday, and I'm just curious, did you ever get a Saturday puzzle published?
I never have. I've got three Sunday puzzles published. And I never had because the Fridays and Saturdays are not thematic. And I like fun themes. So I construct all mine as themes. Well, you got the book, but you have to, okay. Thank you for your question. I've only got 3 or 4 minutes. Yes, ma'am.
So if we buy a book, will you autograph it?
I'd love to autograph it. I'd be honored. I'd be honored. Yes.
Becky, thank you so much for coming to talk to Rotary. You and I talked briefly about Rotary today.
You mean I'm done?
And you
I didn't even start my speech.
I can't very well mention that you are a friend of Rotary, but you know, what are your thoughts about this amazing organization called Rotary?
Well, I have enjoyed coming to Rotary. I spoke to the Indianapolis Rotary and a couple of others, and what you do is extraordinary. And it makes me especially honored to be included today and to be with you because I've learned a lot about what Rotary does and how we do it. And my congratulations to all of you. And I'm glad to hear this club is building and you're doing a good job, or your whole group, your membership people. And I hope to be invited back in maybe on my next book or a year or two and see twice as many people here. So I love Rotary. Thank you all for inviting me. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Mickey, so much. And in honor of your presence here today, we are giving a gift to the New Hope for Families organization here in Bloomington, which is an organization established in 2011. It's an emergency housing solution for Monroe County that keeps families together, no matter how they think of which family they are. So thank you so much for this. It's really, really wonderful to have you with us.
I'll just step over here.
Yes, and let me just mention a few things for the book. If you would like to buy the book and you don't have that thing called cash, Natalie will be able to dock your, we'll be able to send you the bill through the mail, and that we would be able to make it possible for you to buy the book here. So thank you so much. Also, just a few things I'd like to, birthdays, I skipped over birthdays, which are so important to us all. Fred Dunn, July 20th. We've got Charlie Osborne, who came in as well. He's here with us today, July 21st. And Ashley Wesley, who will be running the meeting next week, is also July 21st. So that's the news. We don't have any member anniversaries. And I think that's about it. So let's go with the four-way test. John, do you want to put up the four-way test for us? And why don't we all stand and talk about our values of the things we think, say, or do. First, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, would it build goodwill and better friendships? Fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? And fifth, is it fun? Thank you all so much. Great to see you.